working for 3 to 4 months.
Myself, my name is Ibrahim Bauda. I'm the director of Minara Chamber of Commerce. It's my pleasure today to actually host this webinar. It is a webinar that is part of a series that Minara has initiated, the objective being to assist and support and provide guidance to businesses and basically all commercial enterprises during these rather difficult times. I think businesses are are battling, and I think Nonhlanla, who is also a member of the Minara Chamber of Commerce, has her journey has been a very inspiring one, and I'll leave it to her to actually tell us about her journey and how she's actually developed her project, which has become a highly sustainable one and also can serve as a model for anybody else who wants to start a similar sustainable project. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the other participants to the project. Thank you for making available the time to actually join us this morning. The program will be simple. I'll hand over to Nonhlanla in a minute, and she will take us through her journey for about 25 minutes. After that, we will have questions. Preferably ask your questions live, but if you wish, you can use the chat to ask the questions, and we will then conclude. Hopefully, the plan is to conclude at about 10 o'clock. So let's get started. Welcome everyone again. And again, thank you very much, Nonhlanla. I'm sure in these difficult times, it's not so easy to make time available for what we're trying to achieve this morning. But thank you again for joining us, and it's over to you. Okay, perhaps I should have just given a small introduction to Nonhlanla. She started Umgibe projects in roundabout, I would imagine, 2014, when she had suffered a life-threatening event. And from there, I think the project has grown into something that's absolutely remarkable. I had a look. I had a look at little on the website, or at least on the internet, and I lost count of the number of awards that this project has actually won. So, if anybody's interested, I would advise you to actually go onto the internet, and you will see the awards that that Nonhlanla has actually received for her project. Okay, without further ado, I'll pass on to Nonhlanla. It's up to you.
Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be amongst all the members of the Minara Business Chamber, and also to be asked to talk about the difficulties and the solutions one can find during this hard time in South Africa, where we are faced with the COVID-19 problem. Being a farmer means that you are in the middle of everything that is happening. One of those things is seeing people hungry. During the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, our food systems in South Africa were exposed to be very fragile. We found ourselves handing out food parcels everywhere, people fighting, trying to get food. And that should not happen in a self-sustainable country. But as I said, the food system has been broken for a long, long time. When I was diagnosed with cancer in 2014, I found myself in a similar situation that most people are in right now, because I had a job, I was working, I could get food anywhere I wanted. But when I got sick and I was unemployed, that was not easy to do. So I remembered how I grew up. I grew up with a family that farmed. Everything that we had was fresh from the garden. If it was fresher than ours, it would have been still growing. So my father taught me that the soil is the only solution, and it's the resource that was given to us by God. So after a lot of years, after 30 odd years, I found myself remembering that. And I started growing vegetables in my backyard. I'm talking about Ketomena, Mayville. And I'm talking about an RDP house where I was. And there is no yard there. But I grew the vegetables anyway, because it was the only way I could feed myself and my family. But unfortunately, again, there are other problems that are there. The chickens from the neighbors ate everything on site. And I could not believe it when I came outside.
Yes.
I cried, literally, because it was my only source of something that I was gonna eat. And there it was gone. Where there was spinach, there was just stalks. And I cried 3 days, I could not come outside. And then I had to think, because food is a basic need, just like shelter. I had to think of how to feed myself, feed my family, and also prevent the disease that was eating me from continuing, because I was now weak and vulnerable without anything to eat. So I innovated a system which is today called Umgibe growing system. Just using what called wooden blades and plastic bags at the time. And I grew my garden. It was a hanging garden, providing me refuge from the chickens. And before long, I had a garden that had all the vegetables that I needed. All the nutrients were right there in my backyard. And I harvested. There was more than I could eat. I started selling to the neighbors, and the neighbors started asking, how do we do this in order for us to be able to eat? I told them. Others asked me, how much is the growing system? I didn't know I had a growing system, because for me, it was a means to an end. Then I undercharged, found out that the plants were more expensive than I thought, and the labor was costing me more, but it was a learning curve. I started building. Up to date, I've sold more than 1,289 systems. And that has helped a lot of schools, 31 schools to be exact, and also the communities that I work with. For example, the community in Chesterville, we've got about 36 systems that we've been working on. Unfortunately, during the COVID-19, Chesterville has been a ghost town, because everyone was under lockdown. So we couldn't continue growing our vegetables. We've just recently started reviving that. and we are busy getting people to grow vegetables, because automatically when you grow your own vegetables, you are providing yourself and your family nutritious food, and also you practice that social distancing that is needed at the moment, because you don't have to go to ShopRite or to the market or to where we are going to be meeting a lot of people. You are going to be harvesting right there in your yard, and you are protecting yourself and you are protecting your family. And also the food parcels, as much as they are good, they are not sustainable. No one can give people on a daily basis food to eat. We've tried it, and we are feeding people in Chesterville with Gifted Hope, and we feed South Africa, and Islamic Relief. We do those things, but they are not sustainable. We can't give people every day. So food gardens are the only solution for us. We recently launched with the MEC of Public Works in Shaga's Head, where the community there, it is kind of like the epicenter in the Ilembe district for COVID-19. We've launched a one home, one garden, so that those people can be able to feed themselves, because soon people are not going to be able to get food, because it's just going to be too much dangerous to be going out, as the COVID-19 cases are increasing in South Africa, and it's difficult, and it's hitting home. And the families that had, some of them had seen their neighbors dying. Some of them not dying because of COVID-19. They are dying because they've got nothing to eat. They've got nothing to actually even take their medications, because there is comorbidity on that. So my appeal to everyone is that food gardens are the solution, because they are sustainable. When you've got sustainable, when you've got something that continuously grow, you are then having something, even the skills that one learns when they are gardening are left behind for their next generation, so that when a kid is finding himself or herself not having food, they know that if I put some seed on the ground, I'm going to be able
wipe the windows, the fireplace, and I'll give you some washing.
I'm actually going to be able to grow something instead of waiting to have money so that I can be able to buy food. So as Umgibe, we have developed an ecosystem whereby kids as young as 7 years old are being taught how to germinate seeds and have a garden at home, and on top of that, be able to sell the seeds back to us as Umgibe, so that we can sell to the cooperatives. That becomes a value chain that is sustainable, that is inclusive, because most of the time when we talk about communities, we talk about the township people that are living maybe in 4-roomed houses. But what about the informal settlements? They're excluded. One of the reasons they are being excluded is because they do not have enough space. But I'm sitting here today and I'm saying to you, instead of giving somebody fish, how about we buy rods, fishing rods, and go and teach them how to fish? because that is the only solution. In the olden days, that is what used to happen. There was no food in the supermarket. There was everything was being found from the ground. God has given us the brains, and out of that, we are capable of learning skills, the survival skills. I was talking earlier on about the fact that we are surviving. We are at a surviving stage. But out of the survival mode, that's where the solutions come. Because you cannot come up with a solution without having first identified the problem. The problem in our society is not laziness, as people would put it, but it's lack of knowledge. When people don't know what to do, some of them end up being criminals. But some of the people that I've worked with have done things that people would say are unforgivable. But when you start teaching them certain things about farming, the relationship between a human being and the soil, it's an amazing thing. There is so much we can do out there, not by handing out, but by identifying people that are saying, I'm here, what can I do? Instead of people that are saying, please, give, because after giving a lot, it develops, there is the entitlement syndrome that is a cumbersome thing for South Africans. People, you give them at first, they appreciate, second time they appreciate, third time they are demanding, why are you giving us the same thing all the time? Why are we not getting this? Other people are getting this in other centers and stuff. So that element of entitlement is one that South Africans have developed. We no longer have people who say, I need a solution, what do I do? I have a problem, I need a solution, what do I do? Part of that has been created by us, just giving, without asking what that community is actually looking for. What do they think the solutions would be given the chance? That is why with Gifted Hope, we started a program called Stop Hidden Hunger, whereby we teach kids the skills. We ask them, what is it that you would like to, to learn if you were given a chance? And the kids would come up with good solutions, we'll give them, and then we'll help them to start working towards that goal. We allow them to dream. But as South Africans, we have learned to just give. We do not allow people to dream by giving them the resources, the basic resources that they can give. If a person is asking for food, ask them if you give them seeds, would they be able to grow their own food? We do not ask that, we just give them. And the following day they want it, because we have not taught them how to grow their own food. Just starting with a little patch makes a big difference. I know, I'm talking from experience. And when I'm talking to the people, to the communities, I am talking out of something that I have experienced. I'm not the person on the mountain looking down on the valley and thinking that what can be done on the valley to be able to correct things. I am a person that says, I'm from this valley, but I'm slowly climbing up. Maybe I will end up one day being on this hill where I can be able to contribute to the solutions that are happening in the valley. So having said that, I am just appealing that sometimes people don't need food parcels. Sometimes people need knowledge. maybe if you contribute on the training of people on how to survive during this time, it might help better than what you call going there and giving them food for today and tomorrow they still. Because there is one thing I learned when I was in that hunger stage, when I didn't have food, when I didn't know where my next plate was gonna come from, is that the stomach doesn't care. Whether you are sick, whether you are poor, whether you are rich, the stomach asks for the same thing. It doesn't give any credit. So if you give somebody food today, they are going to eat. Tomorrow, they are going to need the same amount of food. So let us grow vegetables. Where there is no what you call space, let us innovate around that. Out of the innovation that started because I was hungry, today there are ladies who are sewing bags because I've moved away from the plastic bags. There are people that are sewing bags and they make a living out of that. They grow their own vegetables and they make a living out of that. And they've learned to be self-sustainable. Let us create during this time. God is showing us something. Let us create self-sustainable communities. Laziness is not an option. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Nonhlanla. I think there are probably going to be a lot of questions, but I would like to start by firstly asking a little bit more about your project and how it has evolved. I'm trying to see how, you know, if let's just say somebody wanted to take or start a project similar to yours, how does one go about that process in terms of the resources that would be required? For example, space, funding, seeds, all of those kind of things. Yeah, you know, and also in terms of the training that would be needed, you know, for one to start. Do you have a structured approach to this? Is it a one-to-one thing? How does it work? Could you perhaps just describe the process?
Okay, let me say that each and every organization that approaches us have got their own vision as to how they want to eradicate hunger. And then if they want to start the food gardens and they want to use the Umgibe growing system, obviously we partner with them, and then we will find out how many beneficiaries they want to assist. And then because Umgibe is a patented system, we then go and engage with the beneficiaries that they have actually identified. And then we do the training of the trainers within that organization, so that when we exit as Umgibe, the project is sustainable. So, for example, let me make an example. Say, for example, Gifted Hope wants to support maybe 40 families. What they will do, it would be say, oh, okay, I've identified 40 families and we need a training for them. They will organize the funding for the training, and they will organize the funding for the growing systems. And then we go, we train that community, we put the systems, if it's put in one place, it's put in one place. But in a case like, for example, Shaka's Head, it was different families, each family, each informal settlement had a system. So the department paid for 10 systems for 10 families to be able to be taught. So we took a week training those families and showing them how to actually grow those vegetables using the system. We installed everything. By the time we leave, the garden is fully grown and the person is already, from day one, they already have, because we make sure that it's organic vegetables, it's non-GMO, because some of the seeds from that we want them to be preserved so that they can be able to grow using their seeds next time, not to always come back to us and buy seedlings, because we want it to be an ecosystem that is sustainable for everyone. So it depends on how many, even if you just want to sponsor one family, we will what called construct that, and we will go with you and show you, or if you want to start it as a project, we partner with you, but we do, others say, like Holland said, we want to donate 25 systems for this particular organization, and we go there, we teach them the organization, and after that they are self-sustainable. We just monitor and evaluate to make sure that everything is going accordingly. I hope that explains how we work.
Yes, it does. But before I allow participants to, ask any questions, I just wanted to know, could you give an indication of the amount of space that would be required to implement a system like this, and also, if it's possible, and if some idea of what it would cost to implement one system?
The system is, one of the systems is 6 meters. So it's 7 by 2 meters. Yeah. And there's also half of that, which is 3 meters, because sometimes we find that the space is too small, but the 3 meters grows about 130 crops in it. So one family can get about 50 maybe cabbages, and then maybe spinach, and then whatever variety of vegetables that they want to grow. But it's enough to feed a family of 4 or 5. The 3 meters one, and it's 11,500, because the material now that we use for the bags last about 3 years. So it is a sustainable material. Before we were using plastic bags, and they were cumbersome, but they did the job at that time.
I see. I think, okay, we'll open up now to participants. Any participants would like to ask any questions or give any comments, or please feel free to do so. We seem to, I think everybody is pretty satisfied with your presentation, and there don't seem to be too many questions. So I will be the one that perhaps can ask. I just want to get a sense of where are you? The training is done on site, or is it done at your facility?
Ibrahim, can I interrupt there just to say that just monitor the chat, because there are some questions on the chat.
I am. Okay. Maybe those questions are going through to Minara. Amina, are you on the system? Can you perhaps just let us let me know?
Yeah,
hello,
sure.
Amina.
Hello, can you hear me, Mr. Vado?
Yes, I can.
Okay, one question is, how could we enter into a training program?
First of all, when you want to enter a training program,
breakfast a bit later.
We have the training center, but we prefer when one wants to enter our training program, it's divided into two clusters. There is one whereby an organization wants to get training on organic farming. We are an accredited training institution. So we offer all crop production training. But then if you want the specific training on how to use Umgibe growing system as a tool, we tailor make it according to your needs as an organization or as a person, so that it best fits what you want to do. You call us, or you go to our website and you send a message, and we then interact with you, and we decide when and how that can be done, because we have never kind of locked down because of the fact that we are in the food industry. We even train people after a while for processing vegetables. Thank God, ICRA Trust gave us the processing machine, the juicing machine, and we are able to make beetroot juices and all the juices that are capable of preserving the vegetables, some of them that are not taken by our customers. We train fermentation. There's a lot of trainings that we do that empowers communities, because some people cannot do the planting, but they can be able to do the processing through us. The system, what I didn't mention is that it is disabled people friendly, because when I was growing, I was sitting on a wheelchair. I could not, I was frail, but I could grow my vegetables. I hope that answers that.
Any other questions?
We've got one from Bino. Do you have standard training sessions available? And if so, where are they held? Is this specific to any recipient?
We have standard training that are available. We prefer to do it because we work with cooperatives mostly. We prefer to actually have groups of people at one time, because it makes it easy, because we do everything theoretically, but 70% of what we do is practical, because we want you to walk out of there, or if we are training you in your space, we want to leave you being able to do exactly what you need to do to move forward and self-sustain.
Hi, it's Anissa here. I've been told I could ask my question next, and I just want to say that I'm in awe of your life experience and your work. What you've shared is absolutely amazing, and really congratulations on the work you're doing. It sounds so accessible, it sounds so empowering, and it's truly inspirational. My question was just sort of how you accredit training, and you obviously train through Black organizations. I was just wondering how many of those organizations who asked you to come and do training for communities are relief organizations, organizations working in so-called charity outreach. And also just another question, I have a small little space where I grow stuff, and I know it doesn't, it gives me food in good seasons, but now with winter, things are quite slow and I've just got herbs and not much sort of vegetables. I'm sure there's ways that you work around that. And what systems do you have in place that you get food consistently and throughout the year? Thank you.
Okay. First, I've kind of lost count on the relief organizations that we work with, but let me say there's more than 10 organizations that we work with. Some of them are mostly international because when I started, this thing only was recognized by international organizations, and then later people from South Africa started looking at how to actually do this, and the companies I mentioned Holland before did their CSI with these programs, and France had about 75 systems, food gardens put into 25 schools. So yeah, we work with quite a lot of relief organizations that are looking for sustainable projects. Currently, within the next 2 weeks, we will be doing a shoot from the organization that is supported by Prince Charles on sustainable gardens, and they want to identify organizations that they can work with in South Africa to actually get these food gardens to be put into people's places during the COVID-19. And about how one can be able to have food all year round. With Umgibe system, that is possible. You can be able to actually grow some of the vegetables that you would normally not be able to grow in winter, because some of the things that we do is to put enclosures so that we kind of monitor the temperatures and everything. And we also teach you during training, if you choose our business training, which is called an agripreneurship training, we teach you how to actually use a certain calendar to be able to do something like permaculture, to make sure that you've got food all year round, no matter what season it is.
Hello, Ms. Nonhlanla. Thank you very much for a nice presentation. I just wanted to ask on your model of assisting farmers, can it be run on a commercial base? And if so, what are the procedures that you have? Because you'll find some people with large pieces of land who would want to take this as a commercial venture. And what's the procedure in that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Solomon. We do. We've got agripreneurship classes which cater for those people that say, yes, I want to grow for myself, but I would also like to take this to the next level and grow so that I can sell. The organic market is growing fast in South Africa. People are starting to mind what they are eating. So there is a lot of economic benefits for the people that are in the organic sector. So what happens is that we work with cooperatives. Cooperatives are a business entity. So a cooperative is trained from the beginning, because we want to know that if you want to grow vegetables, you don't think that they just do themselves. We want you to understand Our business model use the economies of scale. Because, for example, if I go to Woolworths today and say I want to supply you, the first question they're gonna say, do you have the capacity? And I realized from the beginning that if I want to supply bigger entities, I need to have cooperatives. Today, I am working with about 106 cooperatives. We grow according to what the client needs. If you say, as Mr. Solomon, that I want you to supply me on a weekly basis lettuce, I will then approach 25 or 30 of the cooperatives and say, grow lettuce, this kind and specific that on what you want. And they will grow that and we'll put it together every day. We packaging everything. We teach people from scratch on how to actually sell things that are going to be accepted. We become the market as Umgibe. And all these people grow and they put everything that you put in there, you're gonna be paid for that. We know when you put the seedlings on the ground, how much is going to be paid for each head of cabbage and for each whatever. So it becomes a business rather than just growing for the sake of growing and selling if it needs to be. So that's where we draw our revenues. Is eating, our model says eat 20%, sell 80% because that is an excess. And we've got buffering systems. Those who don't have that can have that. So it is a business. And I'm not afraid to say that over the past few years, since I started working with these, combined with these cooperatives that we are working with, we have made more than what's called on the third year, we made more than $1 million for the first time together. And those people, 1,289 families are able to feed themselves, take their kids to school, and they are living a life that is no longer from a hand to mouth kind of thing. And the model also talks to the growing on the ground. If you don't have, if you've got enough land, we give you a contract. You contract with us as Umgibe and you grow beans. For example, the Gauteng, what we call a province, wanted beans. And we got our cooperatives to grow beans and they supply it in school. And 8,400 what we call tons of beans were needed, and we're able to do that because we use the method that says together we are an ocean, individually we are just mere raindrops. I hope it answers your question.
Nonhlanla, just looking at the chat, there's just two questions that arise. One is, does one have to acquire your system? In other words, if I wanted to engage in this type of activity, would I need to buy your system in order to get the training? Or can I attend a training course at your institute? That's one. And if I did want to attend, and if I was allowed to do so, what would it cost for me to attend such a training course?
Okay, we offer training that is not associated with you having to what called to buy a system. Our trainings that it's a 3-day training that is intensive based on what you want to do. You want to be an entrepreneur or you want to just learn to know how to actually survive on your garden. The course is 3,500 for what you call for the whole week, which includes practicals on the site. Then you have the other side whereby you train because you want to buy the system, you want to use it as your method of training, because even when you are growing on the ground, we do training on how to propagate what called seedling. There is a seedpreneurship program where we train you how to germinate your own seeds and be able to continue what called selling, whether you want to start a nursery or whatever, it's up to you, but an organic nursery.
Just on the training, is it at your institute, and where is it located?
We are now located in Chesterville, just by the Iowa storage extension 3, Chesterville. Then we've got a training center in Wartburg. That is where I am right now, where we grow, we do permaculture gardens. If I was sitting outside, I would be showing you all over what we are doing on the ground, as well as Umgibe systems. And we've just created an ecosystem where people are going to be able to come and learn how to grow vegetables and yeah, make a living.
Are there any other questions in the meantime? I think you've done it.
Hello, good day. Mr. Vauda, Ibrahim Vauda.
Yeah, yes.
It's Mohammed Amiria from Darul Ihsan.
Yes.
Could I ask the lady a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to know, in terms of, I was not following the program from the outset, in terms of empowerment, skills empowerment, if we would want to try to empower people who are perhaps unemployed, or even young students or people who have time on their hands to actually do this type of entrepreneurship. What category of people, or who are the target market for this particular initiative?
The target market is quite wide, because looking at the unemployment in South Africa right now, we are looking at the youth mostly, and those disabled people. We are very much concerned about them, because half the time they are excluded when it comes to most of the trainings. And we also look at those people that charity organizations, they are beneficiaries for charity organizations. We skill people that want to do entrepreneurship. We skill people that want to make livelihoods without having to to bother others. And we also skill people that want to go commercial and make farming their agribusiness. So when you come to us, you tell us what is your vision. We make your vision come to reality through the group of people that is the target of your organization. If you are strictly on women and youth, we make it happen. We tailor-make it so that it works for you, because it's not a one-size-fits-all.
So the 3-day program that you were speaking about, is that merely a type of an entry-level program, and they are more intensive programs?
Yes, it is an entry-level program. whereby sometimes some of them, the people that have been trained, fall off because they say, I'm not going to be able to do this. I thought it was going to be like this and this, because we do not what you call do the theoretical stuff that says you do this and this what happens. We show you also the pros and cons of what happens if you want, for example, to make a business out of agriculture. What can go wrong? What can what call work well? Why are certain things happening in the industry, and how you can actually find opportunities within that. And we make it a practical learning. It's in fact, we are an experiential learning center. We are not just offering courses that are offered by everyone who is doing agriculture. Yes, we are accredited to offer up to a diploma level, but our most important thing is to create sustainable farmers rather than certificate farmers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chancellor, I think what I'm sensing is you've got a very remarkable organization, and it's quite inspiring how far you've come in the last, 6 odd years, and how you've developed. Obviously, you probably have a fairly good infrastructure in order to be able to do this. If you could just describe that a little bit, and also, I know that in the past, I think we're all aware that even the provincial government tried the one home, one garden sort of programs and so on. And I for some time when I was involved in the humanitarian field, I got the sense that farming was perceived to be something that people didn't actually want to go into. It felt like it was kind of maybe below their dignity to become farmers. It wasn't something that you did unless you absolutely had to. And I think one of the problems that we saw in this was that people started these gardens, but after a while, they just simply gave up, or they neglected the garden and all of these kind of things. And I think some of these projects were also started at schools, where similar experiences, where the schools initially were interested, but after a while, they kind of lost interest. The objective at that time was for the learners to become interested in farming, and at the same time to generate income and food for the schools. So, what I'm saying is this has been tried in various ways. What makes your project different, and why is it, or how has it become so successful?
First of all, I was one of those that thought farming was below me, because I'm a clinical psychologist, and farming had nothing to do with me, and that I had run away from it. But it took my being sick to remember that there are other ways of making a living. But the system that I developed makes it easy for somebody not to work.
Amina?
It looks like she's got a connection problem. She's just reconnecting again.
Okay. Are you in contact with her too?
Hello?
Hello?
I'm sorry
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that.
Okay.
It just stopped.
What was the question so difficult?
No. I'm sorry about that. It just stopped. As I was saying, first of all, the system that I developed is easy to use. It can be used by a 7-year-old, and it's fun. It makes it takes out the hard work from farming, and even a person sitting on a wheelchair will be able to do this. And there is no weeding, and it saves water. It helps that you have to only water 3 times a week, as opposed to water maybe in the morning every day and in the evening. And each plant gets its own nutrients the way it is supposed to do, enough water that it wants to get. So that makes youth more interested in doing that. That is one of the reasons. But then we don't only work with our system sitting at home, we also work on the ground if a person has got land. That has helped Abo Mama and Gogos to know that out of my cabbage, because my cabbage is organic, I can get 20 Rand per cabbage or 25 Rand a cabbage, because I'm making money. So if I grow 100 cabbages, I'm gonna have 2,500, as opposed to get perhaps 7 Rand per cabbage or 5 Rand per cabbage, and we have restored the dignity for the people that have been looked upon as below, you know, in their standards. People have been able to feed their families, which is something that they haven't been able to do with the money that they get out of farming. Suddenly, farming has become something that is bringing income. And there is nothing that restores dignity like knowing where your next plate is gonna come from. That is why our program is more successful than your normal program, whereby the government comes and says, here are the seats, and here are the tools. The next things, people come, take the what you call the tools, go and sell them, and go and buy food. And they neglect the what you call the seedlings that were put on the ground, because there is no longer any tools to work them on. So it did not work because of that. They were giving everyone, but not everyone was interested in farming. For us, even if you are an organization giving us the beneficiaries that you think need this, we first have to find out if those beneficiaries are really interested in that. If not, we tell you that no, find other beneficiaries, because these ones are going to make this program not what you call successful. And I don't want to associate myself with something that is not going to be successful. I hope that answers the question. Hello?
Yes, thank you. I'm just trying to unmute my mic. I'm not so techno savvy, unfortunately. Nonhlanla, just as an aside, have you got a solution for monkeys?
Yes, we put a shade net.
Is that?
Yeah, we've put a
Okay.
shade net over those what you call systems, and then they're not gonna come in.
I see. Okay. Are there any other comments, questions? I don't see anything on the chat either, so I think we will. We've got the contact details on the chat, Nonhlanla's contact details. But if anybody wants to know more, they can also contact the Menara Chamber of Commerce, and we can then maybe make arrangements for you to contact Nonhlanla. Nonhlanla, thank you very much. You know, unfortunately, we didn't have the time to actually, for me to go into your history. And from what I've seen on the website and at least on the internet, I would recommend that whoever has participated go onto the internet and do a little bit more reading on your journey. It's absolutely inspiring and encouraging, and one can be very motivated from what you've achieved. I hope also that the participants have gained from their presence here, and that, you know, going forward, maybe something can develop. I think the representatives of some organizations that are also on this webinar. I'm sure there probably is scope for your organization and those organizations to actually cooperate and benefit from each other. So with that, thank you very much for making the time available. I can imagine in these difficult times you probably have very little time to spare. Also, thank you to all the participants who've joined us this morning. And from Menara Chamber of Commerce, thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.